ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. If you head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING, you get 10% off. I don't know why I say that so quickly every morning. Rich, how are you, mate? I'm being battered by hay fever again.
Mine's all right, but as soon as you started mentioning it, my right eye went a bit blinky.
Yeah, I looked in the mirror a second ago when I put this quite dodgy shirt on, and I was like, I look like I've just got back from Oliver Reed's house. But unfortunately, it's nothing quite as exciting as that. Right, let's start off with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, I can't believe people are still talking about that guy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can't believe, just get over it. Yeah, we'll get to that another time. But a minute gap in Jeffrey Epstein's jailhouse video released by DOJ fuels conspiracy theories. How dare they? Well, I've got to add to the fuel to the fire today, because that's what we do. The date on which he died, I had no idea about this. I don't know how I missed this. Was incredibly important for those of the Messianic Jewish faith. There's that word again, Messianic. So he died on the evening of the Saturday, the 10th of August, 2019. Now that's called a thing in the Jewish faith called Tisha B'Av, and it's usually a day of mourning, would you have thought, of the mourning the sacking of the two temples. There's also a thing about the tribes. So the 12 spies sent by Moses to observe the land of Canaan returned from their mission. Only the two spies, Joshua and Caleb, brought a positive report. So everyone said basically don't go to Canaan, and that's the land that they were promised, and take it over because it won't end well. So it was all bad news. So what's the chances of Jeffrey Epstein, who was involved with these guys, passing away on that day? And even more so, the minute missing, and we've got a clip here, is the 11th hour of the day before, so the 9th of August on that day. So that minute missing is the minute that ticked over into Tisha B'Av, when they mourn the loss of the temples and bad things happening to them. What are the chances of that? Here's the video anyway. So when you look into that's not by accident. In no way, shape or form can these things be by accident. Now, Epstein was raised in a place called Seagate, a gated community, obviously, near Brooklyn. And he was brought up across the road from the Israel Knesset, the main one in that. And it was a large Orthodox Chabad community in that Seagate gated community. And just around the corner, I don't know if it was there when he was younger, but it's certainly in there now, is a Chabad education center for kids, indoctrination center. What are the chances? Donald Trump's one of these guys. Netanyahu's one of these guys. Putin's one of these guys. What's the chance of him dying on that dying? And I put that in finger quotes because I'm not 100% convinced he is dead. On that date. Now, people have argued that's not the real cell and all of this stuff. It really doesn't matter what you put that date over, because they hide the truth within what they call the Kelipot, the context. So regardless if you put that over a video of Walt Disney doing the moonwalk, it doesn't matter. It was the date in which that he's supposed to have died. Just so happened corresponds with the date where all these Messianic Orthodox Jews mourn the loss of something that's important to them. It's no coincidence. And if people are going back and having a look, this date of this Tisha B'Av changes. It's between early July and early August each year, but it completely changes. It can be anywhere within those 4 weeks. So on 2019, it was on the day Epstein allegedly passed. What are the chances, Gaz?
I think you'd be able to find out, I reckon, in terms of that Habadnik school, whether it was there when Epstein was a kid. That's something worth looking into. My first takeaway from this, in terms of the news article, Rich, and you sort of picked up on it as well, is Jeffrey Epstein's jailhouse video, a minute gap, fuels conspiracy theories. Well, it's got nothing to do with conspiracy theories. There's a minute missing. If I'm in court and they say, "Oh, we think you left the house to commit this crime," and I said, "Nah, I didn't leave the house, mate. I can prove it. Here's a video of me staying in all day. Look, the video's on the door." If there's a minute missing,
exactly.
Well, I'm bang to rights, aren't I? Where's that minute gone? So if you give me that minute, and then we'll have another conversation about it.
And then we'll have another conversation. It ticks over into that date as well. So what's the chances of it being the last minute that ticks over into the greatest loss that they can have for their mission on that date, and that's the day he dies? people go, well, what can they do in a minute? That doesn't mean that there's a minute missing. That means there's a splice in the edit. So that could literally be 5-10 minutes, and they just splice it back together with a new timestamp on it. Trust me, I'm a video editor. It doesn't take much to change the timestamp on something. It means there's a cut in there, and it's the cut that's important. The cut could last 48 hours if it really wanted to, but they couldn't cover the cut, not even in a nice crossfade or a star fade. They couldn't do it.
Even if it is only a minute, say that's legit, say it's literally a minute missing, people will look at that and go, well, there's no way someone could go in there, you know, overpower him, strangle him, kill him, and get the hell out in a minute, right? Now, you know, I'm not a crime scene expert, whatever. I don't know how possible that is, but I tell you what is possible: getting the dude out in a minute.
That's what I'm saying. Getting the dude out in a minute and putting something in there that looks like, or someone in there that looks like Jeffrey Epstein, but not quite like Jeffrey Epstein. Remember all the things that they were doing with this transhumanist tech. Now take the blinkers off of your mind on what's possible, what these guys were doing, and in terms of what he was funding. And you know he was terribly interested in cloning and all of these things. Yes, they sound out there, but something happened in that minute, and you can't not give us a minute. And then the explanations in this article, I believe, they say that it just happens every day. Well, then, okay, if it happens every day, show us the other days that it's doing it, for one thing. But if it happens every day, then if you are someone who wants to go in there and do that, they know that for that minute it's going to be off. So, you know, it works both ways. Something happened in that minute. And then you get Kash Patel, who doesn't know where the hell he is, that rhymes. And he's saying that, oh no, yeah, it just happens every day. It happens all the time. And he's saying, oh no, that minute, he says, that minute we had to tidy the video up. So which one is it?
What do you mean you had to tidy it up? Why did you have to tidy it up? Why did you have to do anything to it? Just present it as it is. This was the whole thing with the whole Epstein thing anyway, Rich. When Pam Bondi was like, it's on my desk. Suddenly it doesn't exist anymore, but it was on your desk. But even then it was like, it's on my desk for review. But you don't need to review it. Just release it. Just give us the names. Because otherwise, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? For what?
Well,
for trafficking people to who? To no one. It doesn't exist.
And that's a really good point. And to back that up, and I think this is a really important point, is that Juliet Bryan, who we've been speaking to, is an Epstein survivor for years now, and I have regular contact with Juliet. Her story has never changed. Watch her interviews; it's the exact same thing over and over again for the same 2.5 years. Exactly the same thing in terms of the details that she's pointing out. But what she said she never saw anyone traffic to anyone. It was always for their own use. So that's important to say. So if there's no one it's been trafficked to, I think we might be seeing Ghislaine Maxwell getting out, because how can you have a crime with no victim? And I know there's certain circumstances when you could say there is, but in this extent, you can't be trafficking no one to no one. That makes no sense. So we might be seeing the early release of Maxwell, if she's even in prison anyway. This whole thing doesn't make any sense unless they're hiding something that's going to break, I think, this entire messianic agenda wide open. And that's why this Tisha B'Av date is incredibly important, because none of the mainstream media, and actually nowhere else other than Iconic, are you going to hear this information, that the fact that this is an occult religious practice going back to this messianic agenda for the New World Order, which some people see as Greater Israel Project, some see as the Project for New American Century, some see it as Olam Haba, the world to come. It's the same thing. It's a new plan for the Middle East to be basically the place where this AI godhead is. And as mad as that sound, have a look at how bad they're covering this stuff up. This is true. Everything leads back to this stuff. And that's why this work doesn't get the release. I put this stuff absolutely everywhere. No one picks up on it. You can find Joe Rogan speaking about this. Alex Jones won't speak about this. None of these guys. Tucker Carlson will never mention it, although he thinks the Noahide laws are wonderful, because he's a Kabbalist, wears the red string that turns to white once they accept the atonement. This is the point. This is the information, and it's encoded in this release of this videos, but they won't let you know that other than this place here.
Well, to be honest, they're not going to talk about this stuff because they're too busy covering up. I mean, even if you just take it at a base level, so even if you don't go into the occult stuff, and if people are watching this and going, oh, I'm not into the occultist stuff, I don't understand that, like, it's too much for me, I'm not there yet, or whatever, fine. Just look at it on a base level. What a betrayal it's been of MAGA, again, by Trump and the people around him. it is extraordinary. And then for him yesterday to go, we're still talking about Epstein. Yeah. What do you mean? You got elected partly on a ticket of we're going to release all the JFK files, we're going to release all the RFK files, all the Martin Luther King files, the 9/11 files, the Epstein file. None of it, mate. None of it. And I see people all the time going, this isn't what I voted for. You voted for a liar and a crook. It's exactly what you voted for, mate. It's literally what you voted for.
The reason why you won't...
I think
Come.
we spoke about this for a while. The Epstein list was never going to come out anyway, because if you've got a giant blackmail operation, why would you give it away? Like, you wouldn't. It's a ludicrous thing to expect someone to do. You've got this tiny sliver of land in the Middle East, and so the Mossad. You've got the CIA. They've got all these people over a barrel because they have compromat on them. Why would they give that up? They're not going to do that. And so now you've got your Alex Jones and all your others, influencers, for want of a better term. They used to be conspiracy theorists, but they're not anymore. Now suddenly going, oh no, no, Trump's not releasing it because he's going to use it so that he can bring down the deep state. And you are literally like that. Are you being serious? You can't. There has to come a point. Yeah. There has to come a point where you go, I don't trust this plan anymore.
No, it's like it's that moment in a cartoon where the character is hanging on by its nails to the edge of the cliff with its legs flying in the air and going, no, it's fine. It's fine. We'll have a cup of tea in a minute. I'll be all right. They're just hanging there waiting to be sucked off into the nether regions of hell. That's basically where MAGA are at the moment, but we know why.
I'm just thinking of Wile E. Coyote now. He runs off the cliff and he's just there. His legs are going, and he just suddenly looks down. And then he looks at the camera with horror. That's that's every emergency Saturday broadcast now.
MAGA hat on, and you go. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. But also we know why. We'll move on from this in a second. But let's just to mention this before we move on, so we got it on record. Is obviously they're going to pivot over to the Elon Musk's new America party, aren't they? I mean, it was so obvious that the fake fallout was we've run this one to death. We need to have a little safety net to grab all these guys in.
Yeah, and it gets people back into politics, because how many people that were kind of the opinion that actually it's a uni party, mate. There's no point. Like every year or every 4 years or 5 years, it's Democrat. Oh no, we'll go for Republican. No, it's Democrat. No, we'll go Republican. And so same in the UK with Labour and Conservative. And so they've gone, I'm done with politics. It's nonsense. I'm done with it. And then suddenly Trump sort of, he reels him in, doesn't he? Because he's an outsider. Is he? So he reels him in. And obviously he's let them all down, as he was always going to, because he's a liar and a fraud. And so now a lot of those people are starting to go back to that realm of politics is and then out comes Musk. He's even using the term uniparty, isn't he? And for me, it's the same as reform. It's get them back into politics again, because if they're involved in the theatre and they're arguing with Karen on Facebook, that's fine, as long as they're not, realising like they once did that actually it's all nonsense. It's all theatre. It's all like some Shakespearean tragedy. Just ignore it and concentrate on yourself and getting organised and find your tribe and all that stuff that we did during COVID. Because during COVID, we knew no one was going to save us. And it was a powerful time. Wasn't it, Rich? Like when me and you say stuff now like about Trump, we get it all the time. Black-pilled, not offering any solutions. It's only problems with you lot. Or doom mongers are iconic and that stuff. It's like, well, no, not really. I'm just not going to lie. He clearly is a fraud, and now he's shown himself to be more obviously. But at the same time, during that COVID period, when we knew we couldn't vote our way out of it, because it didn't matter who you voted for, it was lock me down or hard lockdown. It was like, which one do I go for? People came together at that point, and it was an amazing time. It was a powerful time, and they don't want that to happen again.
No, they don't. And as you say, they're just bringing them back into the fold. So that's what we're getting now. We're going to see all this mainstream man media, as your dad calls it, pivot over to Musk, and they're probably like, thank God, we've still got a business model here.
Yeah. Well, the business model is don't pick a side and just talk honestly, call everyone out honestly, no matter what colour rosette they've got, it doesn't make you very popular, that though. It's not very good for the algorithm.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Gotta
It's,
say.
it's good morally, but it's not a great business model.
No, it's not. But luckily, not in it for that. Netanyahu, right, this is trolling, right? I shouldn't laugh because he's a war criminal, but Netanyahu nominates Trump for Nobel Peace Prize at White House meeting. Benjamin Netanyahu told Donald Trump that he would nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize on Monday as the two leaders met for the first time since the US launched strikes. Peace Prize. On Iran as part of a short-lived war between Israel and Iran. Trump was expected to press Netanyahu, turn him on and off again, to agree a ceasefire in Israel's 20-month-old war against Hamas in Gaza amid the outcry over the humanitarian cost of an offensive that's led to nearly 60,000 deaths. This is the wording. Most of them Palestinian. Most of them. I try 99%, mate.
60,000 is a big number as well. That's the number of exiled Israelites were 600,000. They always use this and disregard the zeros. It's 60 to 600,000. That's a number that pops up all the time. That's obviously not the true number of the people that have
deceased. No, it'd be way more than that.
Yeah,
way more than that. Before a dinner in the blue room, but it's the thing. It's the wording. That's the thing, Rich. That's what bugs me. So most of them Palestinian. So you think, okay, so 60,000. What's most of 60,000? Well, I'm thinking majority. So 40,000, 45, 50? No, mate. No. Before a dinner in the blue room at the White House, Trump was asked whether he believed that Palestinians should be forcibly removed from Gaza, amid reports that Israel has laid out plans to force all Palestinians in Gaza into a camp on the ruins of Rafah, a plan that's been criticised as a blueprint for ethnic cleansing because it is. Now let's listen to this bit. Trump directed Netanyahu to answer the question. The journalist is asking your opinion, Donald. He's not asking Benjamin Netanyahu's. He's saying to you, do you think?
Yeah.
It's not a question like, is the Israelis' military's target X, Y, and Z? Because then that's fine. You can deflect that to Netanyahu. He's asking your opinion, Donald. You've probably just not been given your opinion yet. That's why you can't answer
it. He's saying, do you think what the guy next to you doing is a war crime? And you've gone, I don't know, ask him.
I'll let him mark his own homework again. Honestly.
I'll just push his chair in. Yeah, ridiculous, isn't it? Go on, carry on.
I can answer the question for Donald, Richard. Yes, it's ethnic cleansing because that's the plan, because it's always been the plan. To clear Palestine of Palestinians has been the plan since Zionism was even invented by an Austrian in 1897, thousands of years ago. Netanyahu, so this is beyond all this. Netanyahu is there in America because he only ever goes to America either cap in hand for money or cap in hand saying, can you bomb this person, please? Yeah. So he obviously wants to escalate again with Iran because that's not going to go away. I think they took, when we spoke about this on the round table, the fact that I think Israel took more of a battering from Iran than they were expecting, and they were struggling. And so actually that whole ceasefire, that hurried ceasefire, was all about Israel rearming, basically, because as soon as it happened, as soon as the ceasefire happened, suddenly America was just sending absolute truckloads of military aid again. So they're restocking. And I think they want America with them this time. I don't think they feel like they can do it on their own because Iran isn't Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. It's not the Houthis. It's a big player in terms of its military might, and it's got Russia and potentially China behind it. So I think, this is just a thought, I think we're going to, after this meeting, we'll hear quite a lot of rhetoric again about Iran and about their nuclear capabilities and their nuclear program. I think that's going to start to ramp up because Netanyahu will be in Trump's ear the whole time. And as much as Trump is a fraud and a liar, I don't think he's ever had an original thought in his life. He's bought and paid for and owned. That's why they bailed him out in the 80s for this very reason. And actually, Haaretz, which is an Israeli newspaper, they're on the money with this. They had an article came out last night. It's an opinion piece, and it says, to influence Trump, Netanyahu targets the Nobel-shaped hole in his ego. And that is so true. That is so true, because Trump has got such an ego that you can literally get him to do what you want as long as you fluff him, basically, which is what Netanyahu's doing. And of course, that's the ultimate plan, Rich. Ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the Trump Riviera, again, because that plays into Trump's ego. That's what that whole AI video was about, with a golden statue of himself. It's ego. That's what it's all about. And then with Iran, they want to escalate, and they want the Americans to pay for it with their dollars and with their lives, mate. It's not going away.
No, it's all inversion, isn't it? Just a quick addition to that. It's all satanic inversion. This guy who's started a war, killed a load of people, funded a war to the tune of 4 billion, at least even this year, and killing a load of people in Gaza, gets a Nobel Peace Prize. Over here in the UK, we've got a Palestinian Action of terrorists, but Lammy's meeting one of the leaders of Al Qaeda and having a cuddle. We're in La La Land, mate.
We really are, mate. I mean, I made a joke about this the other day where I was saying about this Shamima Begum, who was 15, and they say groomed, or she claims groomed, but whatever, I don't know the situation, but she's 15, so she's a kid. And she went over and joined ISIS and all that sort of stuff. Now, so she lost her British citizenship. And then you're like, but when she was with ISIS, if she'd have cozied up to the leader, right, and, maybe she'd be the first lady of Syria now. Do you know what I mean? So she wouldn't be banned from the UK. She'd be eating crumpets with David Lammy. I don't know how many crumpets she'd get with David Lammy, to be honest. The plate would be empty pretty quick. But that's just the joke of it, isn't it? It's like, you're a terrorist. He shaved his beard. He shaved his beard. He shaved his beard. He's all right now. He's but
lovely.
These activists that want to try and stop a genocide, they've gone in and spray painted some aeroplanes that don't even belong to the RAF. They belong to a hedge fund, so they can lend them out to whatever other military they want. We don't even own them. They're terrorists. Spray paint terrorists, chopping off heads. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you have milk? Sugar? No sugar. He's sweet enough. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yep. It's where we are. Mate. So where we are. Staying with the UK. Let's have a look at this post office scandal. So, I mean, this is quite horrific, isn't it, really, the whole post office scandal? At least 13 people may have taken their own lives linked to post office scandal, public inquiry finds. They obviously, mainstream media won't hold their hands up to this for how they reported on it at the time, which led to the public inquiry in terms of people looking at these people as criminals, which they weren't. The first volume of the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry report focuses on what Sir Wyan Williams calls I haven't got a lisp, that's how it's spelled, disastrous impact of false accusations made against at least 1,000 postmasters. At least 13 people may have taken their lives after being accused of wrongdoing based on evidence from the Horizon IT system. Now, this is the issue when you're trusting AI. Like, this isn't even AI, this is just rubbish technology. But what happens when you're trusting AI to give you pre-crime and post-crime and all of these things? It's a robot. It's the trust in the toaster to tell you what's going to happen in the future. This is where we're heading. There's going to be a lot of this. It's technology. You need human common sense to oversight these things. A further 59 told the inquiry they considered ending their lives, 10 of whom tried on at least one occasion, while other postmasters and family members recount suffering from alcoholism and mental health disorders, including anorexia and depression, family breakup, divorce, bankruptcy, and personal abuse because of this technology and the reporting on it and the fail to oversight it. Now, that in itself is absolutely horrific, but as I say just there, this is where we're heading when we're trusting technology and putting the cart before the horse.
It's such a disgrace, the Horizon post office scandal, and it just goes to show as well just how much contempt these major corporations and major institutions in terms of the post office itself and the government have. For people around the world that aren't particularly familiar with this situation, basically all the post offices in the United Kingdom, they were given a new computer system by Horizon, the Horizon system. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the name of the company. Was it Fujitsu? I think it was Fujitsu, the computer company. I think so. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think it was Fujitsu. But they were given this system that basically didn't work, and people were coming in the back end from the main head office and changing things. But any figures that didn't add up, So say at the end of the day, you were £100 short in your post office. You had to pay that out of your pocket because it was seen as a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake from you. It was a mistake from the computer system. And so people were racking up debts of like 30, 40, 50 grand. And so it was such huge numbers that they were going, oh, they're not mistakes. So not only have these people got to try and find 40 grand to replace the till, even though it's never gone anywhere, it's on a screen, they were then prosecuted by the post office, and the post office has got its own private court. People don't realise that. It wasn't these cases weren't even taking place in public courts. They were being done by the post office. So the post office had a system that was screwing people over, and then they were then prosecuting through their own court system. I mean, the whole thing's extraordinary. And there was a TV drama in the United Kingdom. It's definitely worth watching. It's called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. And this was a postmaster called Mr. Bates, Alan Bates his name is, who basically wasn't having it. And he refused to sign off on, because as soon as you signed off on it, it's done, you owe the money. He was like, I'm not signing off on this because there's a problem with the system. And in the end, he quit and gave up his post office and everything rather than go down that. And in the end, he was the mastermind behind bringing this whole thing out, which is incredible. He was also married on Richard Branson's island with Richard Branson performing the ceremony. So I don't even know what that's about, but that's pretty weird.
Wow.
I know I only found
that
out
is
the other
weird.
day. Charlotte was talking about it. I went, is it, what? I had no idea.
Well, in real
no
life
idea.
or in
real life.
TV?
In real life. So obviously the drama is he's played by an actor, a very good actor actually, and it's definitely worth watching. It's brilliantly acted, but it makes you angry. I'll be honest, ladies and gentlemen. If you've not watched it, I was like, oh my God, getting so wound up on their behalf. But it asks the question, like you've said. Now everything's computer and everything's automated. Everything's becoming AI, even though Grok's gone mental the last couple of days on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen that. It started praising Hitler and all sorts. Grok's apparently lost its mind, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Deep down, there'll be a reason why. Randy Fine's trying to get it deported at the moment. But how many other institutions is this taking place in right now? Because actually, as I understand it, this Horizon computer system is still active. It's still active now. And that's insane. And I need to make sure it is Fujitsu, because I don't want to I don't want to libel or slander, a company, but I'm pretty sure it's Horizon. But Horizon is Fujitsu.
Fujitsu, yeah. So it's Horizon, Horus Horizon. It has all that symbology behind it as well. But there's that, yeah. I mean, that's really interesting that basically Richard Branson's very close to him. So maybe there's much more going on in the background of that as well. I mean, he was done for importing off-label or white label, black label, can't remember what you call it now, records years ago, and nearly went to prison if his mummy and daddy weren't so rich. They got him out of it. But yeah, he was taking in off-label records in his early days for his record stores. So he's well involved with all of this weird border crossing of goods, criminal stuff.
Yeah, so it was created by ICL, which is a UK software company, for Fujitsu. It was Fujitsu that put it out there. International Computers Limited developed the software and sold it to Fujitsu. Obviously, then made billions, driving people to bankruptcy, suicide, and prison. People went to prison. Multiple people went to prison for years. Some of them 3 or 4 years for something they didn't do. Outrageous, mate. Absolutely outrageous. Now, talking of prison... Sorry, go on.
So what's a company... No, but there's something there that you said. What is a company doing making the staff pay their money back to the company? That's ridiculous. Like, even that's a crime.
Well, I remember working in restaurants as a kid, and if I dropped a plate and it smashed, then the cost of the plate came out of my wages. I guess it's that sort of vibe.
That's not how that works at all.
No, it stitched me up though, because I was working in a Greek restaurant. I ended up owing them money by the end. Right. This is an interesting one, Rich, and again, it's one where there's more to it, as there always is. This is a story out of the United Kingdom. Fewer jury trials could take Ray Charles. I'll try that again. Fewer jury trials could take place to prevent total system collapse of UK courts. Fewer jury trials could take place as part of proposed reforms to prevent total system collapse and to tackle a record high backlog of cases. Sir Brian Leveson, I'm assuming that's from the Leveson inquiry, that whitewash.
He's good, yeah, he's a good man.
Chairman of the Independent Review of the Criminal Courts, has also... So he's another one that's failed upwards then. Amazing.
Yeah.
Has also recommended more cases should be settled out of court as he unveiled plans to to shake up the structure. I'm having a mare today, mate. Up the structure of the system and reclassify offences. So suddenly something that was bad before isn't bad anymore, and I'm betting that something that wasn't bad before is bad then. Let's reclassify it. Saying something naughty on social media, just say murder. Just say premeditated murder. Yeah, okay. The recommendations are part of a bid to cut the backlog where some cases are listed as far forward as 2029. Imagine getting a court date for 2029. What's the point? If you stopped arresting, imprisoning people for words, that might help with the backlog. Just throwing that out there.
A bit. Yeah.
Stop allowing tens of thousands a year of illegal migrants, men, coming over on dinghies from God knows where with God knows what criminal past and God knows what criminal intention. That might help as well. Just putting that out there. But for me, I think it's bigger than that, as most things are. That they give you an excuse, don't they? They say, oh, the backlog's really bad, so we need to do something else. But actually, they've been talking about getting rid of juries in the United Kingdom, openly advocating for it publicly for at least 6 years now. Pre-COVID, they were talking about it. So then you say, well, okay, well, how long they were talking about it before that then? So that opens the way, in my mind, call me a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat on, it opens the way for basically the establishment and the judiciary, which is an extension of the establishment, to basically have more control over everything. Because at the moment, they've got control over essentially what they can do in terms of sentencing. So if you get someone found guilty for something by a jury of their peers or whatever, then obviously the judge, who's part of the establishment, he can go either mental on the sentencing and say, right, he gets 20 years. And everyone goes, what, 20 years for that? You're having a laugh. And then on the other hand, a paedophile that's maybe a counsellor or a former police officer or a funny handshake brigade guy, he can go 3 months. And everyone goes, three months for a paedophile? So they've got control over that, but they don't necessarily have control over whether they get found guilty or not. So suddenly the justice system themselves, injustice system, can basically let off their mates and imprison their political opponents or conspiracy theorists or whoever they want. I think that's probably part of it. I also think they want to go AI in the end, Rich, and you're going down that whole Minority Report pre-crime stuff. Mm-hmm. Because essentially when you watch Minority Report and you've got those three female, like sort of humanoid type things, I'm trying to remember the film, with the electrodes connected to their brains, I think for me, that's sort of just symbolic of AI anyway. That's basically what they want it to be. And then I thought, just finally, Rich, I am rambling. What about if Lucy Letby and that whole thing plays a part in this? Because, again, call me a conspiracy theorist, the Lucy Letby thing is so ridiculous. The fact that she's still in prison, the fact that they're refusing a retrial, they're creating so much, one, backlash against it, but also kind of complete distrust in the justice system. Like, this is mad. And so it does make me wonder if in the end they actually will maybe allow her to be released, or another high-profile person that's been imprisoned wrongfully, of which there are hundreds and hundreds in this country, by the way. And then they can then turn around and go, I know it was awful, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe a jury of your peers doesn't work, because obviously it was a jury of their peers that imprisoned Lucy Letby because they were conned, because they didn't understand the evidence that was being put in front of them. And actually, maybe if we had an AI system, or we had a panel of experts that would understand, maybe they would get to the correct decision. Yeah. And you will find, Rich, as you always do, that a lot of people go, well, I wouldn't normally have been in favour of it. But actually, having seen what's happened to Lucy Letby and others, go on then, let's trial it. What's your thoughts, mate?
They can use anything, as you say, for negative or positive outcomes. So they could certainly use it for that. And she's just a pawn in the game. I mean, she apparently murdered 7 young babies and attempted to murder 7 more. It's 7-7. It's the 7-7 bombings. The coding again is everywhere. Look for it. It's the 7s, the 600s. Everything is like that. So she plays a role in it. I'm not saying she cognitively does. I very much doubt she knows what the hell's going on.
No.
But she certainly wasn't the only person involved with what that whole situation is, and we had some of her management have been arrested now on allowing it to happen. Well, of course, it was allowed to happen if it happened at all. In terms of her doing it, the kids obviously, bless them, died, but whether she was responsible is another question.
Well, to be honest, Rich, if anyone really was responsible, being one of the children, it seems to have died as a result of negligence on behalf of one of the consultants, who's still collecting a nice big fat salary, But it seems a lot of people are suggesting, in terms of medical experts, that actually these babies died because they were incredibly poorly. And actually, maybe the conditions weren't great, but actually they shouldn't have been sent to that hospital anyway. That hospital wasn't capable of taking children of such levels of illness and of being that premature. I mean, there's no reason why. I spoke to Dr. Richard Gill last week for Bring the Fire. It's definitely worth watching, ladies and gentlemen, on Iconic. And that was extraordinary. I mean, this is a guy who's actually got nurses, one in Italy and one in the Netherlands, off for a very similar situation to Lucy Letby. In fact, the one in Holland is basically a mirror image. She spent 6 years in prison, and him and others campaigned and proved her innocence and got her off. And so he's now working to do the same with Lucy Letby. But he's not convinced there was even a crime committed.
Yeah, well, it's the other thing, isn't it? If you've got a jury there, they can be like trial by media. They're consuming all that media. So if you've got AI regulations, you can track and monitor the media the jury is actually consuming and how that impacts their statements. So they're not really looking at it as okay, we've spent this amount of time in the court, just in the court, with the outside world cut off. They're completely infiltrated and manipulated by the media, and the media will be given their narrative. So there's most of it is trial by media when you get to that level. So there'll be that other kind of thing can be weaponized, and we got to make sure we know what they're consuming and what they're doing and tracking everything that they do. And obviously that's going to get widespread elsewhere. So they only really need one kind of valid reason, and that valid reason to bring in this stuff. And that valid reason could well give you the outcome you want in that specific example of Lucy Letby getting free if she indeed is innocent. But it has a knock-on effect on things that they can use elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think they're talking about backlog, and I think that will be another reason why they'll try and push for the AI, because you go, right, well, how long does it take a jury to deliberate? It's back and forth. They've been in there for 18 hours. They still can't decide. AI, done. 30 seconds. Bosh, guilty, yep. Off with his head. Yeah. I
think that's exactly where we're going with AI, isn't it? Absolutely, we're definitely going there, and then it's going to get tracked and traced all down your lineage. Unless it's Grok, which will be the one, wouldn't it? You get your Grok sentence.
God, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And if you need someone to behead anyone, David Lammy knows someone.
Got a mate. He's got a
new mate. Yeah, exactly. Rich, it's me and you again tomorrow, I believe, my friend.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, whatever. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow. Whatever, says Rich. As always, it's brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. If you head over to shop.iconic, I don't know why I'm showing you that, shop.iconic.com, and use the code trending, you get 10% off. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care, Rich.
See you soon. I'll be back in a few hours. See you in a bit.
Oh, of course you will. Of course you will. Trending in the afternoon. Rich will be back later. Enjoy. Nice one.
We're professionals.